Dallas Cowboys Training Camp coverage, powered by AA Best Bail Bonds, and in part by Texas Chia Liquor, Cowboys AC and Heating, and Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds.
Let's get wild.
It's R&R in the morning. You're on San Antonio Sports Star. We promised him to you. He's here. He's Rudy J. I'm Rob Thompson, and the head coach of your Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, joining us. Morning, Coach. We're so glad you're here with us.
Oh, that's great. This is great to do this in person.
It finally is.
You guys look pretty dang comfortable out here in California, I tell you.
Well, we debated bringing tacos to you this morning, but we'll get that going on the regular. And by the way, Coach, you look good, man.
I know. Well, yeah, but I've been staying away from the tacos.
we'll pick it up.
Tacos and Big Red. I mean, that'll do it to you.
For those of you unaware, Coach joins us every Friday pregame. And we got this going a couple of years ago when he first got on there. We were having to get up awfully early. We weren't accustomed to waking up. So we got breakfast, and we started sending him to Coach and the team and all the staff around there in the morning from a good place up there in Allen. It's called El Volcan. He's excited. I talked to him just the other day. He's ready to start bringing you some more tacos, Coach.
He's worked all off season to get it off.
We'll make sure we get the dietetic ones. Okay. We'll leave the calories out of the chorizo of
this
stuff.
Good offensive line, though. They can pick up the slack for us.
Perfect.
They enjoy the tacos also.
So what haven't you been asked this? I mean, you're doing press conferences every day. What haven't you been asked?
That you want to be asked.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it's an excellent observation on your part. So,
every day.
Yeah, no, that's
it's a part
of being a Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
I love every second of it. This is a great opportunity. We got a really good football team, and we got a chance to accomplish everything we want to. I love the development part of it. But just like everything, you got challenges every day, and they usually start in the area of injuries, and it's kind of starting that way for us here of late.
Always feels that way. A couple of days into practice, people start limping a little bit. Coach, we were talking earlier. What's your favorite part of the year? Do you thrive in? Is training camp your favorite time of the year when you have absolute control? Is football 24/7 where there's no distractions, or would it be week 12, game on the line, process? It's Monday, we do this. What do you look forward to the most?
I think we clearly got to take the games out of the question because I mean, there's nothing like Sunday.
Absolutely, game days.
But yeah, training camp is clearly one of my favorite times of year because it's the development component of it. There's always an unknown with your football team, especially when you operate in the premise of draft and develop being a primary focus of your personnel acquisition, and that's where we are, and I love that, and I love to see these young guys, develop, but also like to see the veterans, pull them along. Hey, here we go, and it's just the group dynamics of all this because this is really when it starts. For real. We had a great off-season program. Just started.
You say like 96%, something like that?
Yeah, of all the workouts. So
right.
It's not just like we had 96% of the players there. We had 96% participation. So everybody was there, but, very few guys missed a couple of days for personal things and things like that, which is normal. But I just think it shows you the commitment of our team and just kind of where we are. But this is the true development, particularly the padded practices that start on Monday.
Because outside looking in, I don't think we know. Like, how do you judge whether, today was a successful practice, today wasn't successful? Like, how do you and your coaching staff decide what was good and what was bad?
Well, there's different criteria. Number one, the first thing I'm looking at is pace of operation. So very important because at the end of the day, every team's is working very hard to get their level of conditioning, and I'm not just talking about physical conditioning. I'm talking about their mental conditioning, their emotional conditioning, their spiritual conditioning, the connection, and all that. So pace of operation is so important, and you really don't get to practice it until you get to training camp. The physical part, the technique, and all that, that's always the last to come. That's why you go to training camp, and especially the offensive line. This is the group that needs the padded work. So to answer your question, I break it down into categories. And something as simple as the jog through yesterday, where we're just in shorts and shirts. That was an excellent jog through because our mentals we were on it, our substitutions were clean. So it's all those different categories you're looking for. But
you brought up the offensive line, and Kellen Moore talked about the left guard, the Tyler Smith and Connor. How's that competition? Competition breeds greatness. How's that competition going between Tyler and Connor?
It's excellent. Competition is always good, and really the opportunities that you put in place for your players. It's really their responsibility to take advantage of that, and the more they do, the better it is for the team. That's always been my approach. So we just obviously have a tight lens on the number of reps because they're just
Right.
not as plentiful as you guys been in training camp. This thing is tight, the window's tight, so making sure we're getting Connor all the reps, and make sure that he's ready to go, but also giving Tyler the reps to develop and take advantage of his opportunity. Because let's be honest. I mean, just look at our offensive line in the last 2 years. You look at the statistic of offensive lines that have consecutive starts of all 5 playing together. It equates to a winning percentage, in the 80+%. So,
got you, right.
That's not the way it's been for us the last 2 years. So you got to prepare that way. So, and that's what I like about our young crew. So we got a lot of really good young guys that are developing. And at the end of the day, you need as many of those guys as possible. The last 2 years statistically will show that. But yeah, I feel really good about the way those guys are working.
You talk about the unity that you're building in a team, and you take over a team and you're turning a battleship. It takes a while to get everything in line for what you want to have done. Do you feel like it's all in line right now after a couple of years and COVID and all that, where you're the pace of activity, it's your training camp, you've got everything in your place?
I mean, I will say this, for the first time in my tenure here, the process is in place now. I mean, we've been able
it feels that way.
Yes, we've been able to go through a full evaluation process since the day the season was over. We've been able to apply that evaluation process with our players in person through an off-season program. I think they did a really nice job in a 5-week period with their individual plan. You could see that just in the conditioning level of when the guys came back, and now we're into a full training camp. So the goal is just to get through this without the injury component, but yes, this is the first time we've been in a full process.
And in every conference, in every presser, and every stand-up, you talk about the injuries and repetitions and all of that. One of the things that we've noticed, and I don't understand it, is that warm down that you guys do at the end of practice, where you take off your helmets and you do everything at 3/4 kind of half speed. Explain the thought process behind that, other than just a warm down.
Well, I mean, there's criteria, and just like any, you have goals in everything that you do. I mean, and you have to. And this is the beauty of analytics and the stats and just doing it for a long time. I mean, the offensive defensive coordinators, they need so many reps to get their installs taught. So but in the same breath, we have GPS, and for us to practice, I mean, you watch the way we practice. I mean, this is a high level of intensity football atmosphere. Just trust me, compared to other places. I've been around a long time, but we don't practice as long, so you to get the intensity the way you want it. And we didn't have it in the first day, but we definitely had it in the second day. So, but we still need those teaching reps, but they got to go fast enough where the video's good, so you can teach off them. So it's finding that sweet spot of what a quality rep is. And I think this question earlier, we now understand that as a football team. So we're off to a really good start. So I feel good about where we are in our teaching methods and obviously the intensity of practice.
Can you talk a little bit about? I don't know how much you can talk about it, but the signing of Anthony Barr. Are y'all going to be bringing him down here to Oxnard? How's that going to work? And tell us a little bit about Anthony Barr.
I mean, have tremendous respect for Anthony Barr. Obviously competed against him way too many times.
Green Bay, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, he's a challenge for an offense. Always has been. But there's a process. He has to come in, get a physical and so forth, and then. And if we get through that process, obviously we'll have the announcement. But definitely excited about his addition. I think he'll be an excellent complement with Micah. Has a lot of the same traits, and really like the way our linebacker group's playing right now. So just to add another piece for Dan Quinn and our guys, I think and he's at the point in his career too that he's wants to come in here and then be a contributor. And so I think this is a really good fit for.
Certainly feels that way, doesn't it? He sounded excited about coming down. Watching the practices in the last couple of days, watching your kickers, and you see misses. How do you address that? Do you act like it's a no-hitter and we don't talk about misses, and you just move along? Or at what point do you start, talking to your guys? You're gonna have to make these, or is that just kind of?
Yeah, no, not really.
It's like a virus. You want to just get rid of it, but we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I was told about my headline, but it's not really. I mean, in the day, it's about winning. I get that, and it's
right.
Whether you make it or not. But it's training camp for them too.
Right.
I mean, this is the first time they've been able to kick in front of padded protection unit, a padded rush. So all that applies. So your operation is the first part. You got to get that right. It's use the analogy of a golf swing. It's more about getting the operation time correct and getting the footwork and timing in place and making sure we're hitting the ball flush every time.
Right.
So I'm fine with a flush hit that misses, and
right.
I'm more interested in the pace of the operation time in the fluency, in the footwork, and the stroke. Because to me, I've always looked, and it comes from my quarterback days, I've always looked at throwing the football, punting the football, and kicking the football is the same. I mean, there's a foundation, there's footwork, there's ground force, there's weight distribution, your leg. So there's a lot of similarities there. And that's just really what this is about. Now, obviously, you got a competition going on too, so that's important. But I think you got to be realistic that we're just getting started. We got a young guy that's talented, and Laram's has had a lot of opportunities. He's a Grizzly vet that's been around the block a few times. So I think you got two really good candidates, and it'll work itself out. I do believe that just because of the type of guys both those guys are. But yeah, we're working it every day for a reason. So it's more about the operation in their stroke and obviously being smart, because can't kick those guys too much too. So.
I've talked to you enough times to know you're not going to give us too much, but Kellen Moore talked about Tony Pollard being moved around some, because at Memphis, he did play some at the wide receiver position. Now, again, I know you. I don't know you, but I know you well enough to know that you're not going to give us too much. But do y'all plan to move Tony around a little bit? You don't have to go specifics, but do you plan to use Tony in other situations other than just running back?
Well, Kellen told me he gave you a really thorough answer here. He told me I didn't need to talk.
Okay.
There's a disconnect there.
You know what? I'm going to leave it alone. You know what I did say?
Tony needs to touch the ball.
Yeah, he does. He's a playmaker.
Zeke needs to touch the ball. Tony needs to. To me, it's more about ball distribution and how you get to that is the secret sauce. So, but yeah, definitely. I mean, Tony has that flexibility, and I think it's common knowledge that we'll take advantage of that.
And will we see much of it in the preseason? Not seeing Zeke. I mean, how much are we going to see of Tony?
No, I mean, to be honest, we got to get through these practices. This has had me every year, and I think you learn this as a head coach. You have a plan of how you think you're going to play your personnel. But I think practicing against the other teams, there's a little bit of an unknown. So I've had some really good conversations with both Nathaniel and Brandon. So I'm excited about the.
I'm glad you brought this up, because my question was going to be next. Would you rather have a preseason game or these control practices?
Let's talk after Seattle.
Yeah, we go.
This is a leap for me. It's not a huge leap, but I just haven't done it in a long time.
Right.
Dan Quinn and I were laughing about it the other day. We're working against these young head coaches, and Nathaniel was telling me he's done this almost every year for the last 10 years, and I said, he says, how the hell can you and I be in this league 30 years? And because I really haven't done this consistent, this much since the 90s. Because in the 90s, when up in the Wisconsin league, they were, I was with the Chiefs,
right,
against the Saints, the Vikings. The Bears were up there, so you had that little cheese league action going on. So, but they haven't, being in Green Bay, the team never left,
right,
and we never brought anybody in. So, this is new. The idea is, and the principle and the organization, it all makes sense. So we'll see how it goes.
I told myself I was going to tell you this, because I've been saying, and I'm not just saying that because you're here, but I want to tip my cap to you on your professionalism, because. And we talk about a lot on this show, the disconnect with the media and players and coaches, because I don't know when it became okay to go 12-5, win the division, and we're talking about people's jobs. So I wanted to tip my cap, because up until Monday, I hadn't heard you really, be like, hey, why are you asking me this? Like, the first question you asked me is about my job. I'm surprised it took you that long to snap. Not snap, but like, dude, really? Like, I just went 12-5. I won the division, in the division that sent two teams to the playoffs. So we could kill the argument that the division isn't that good. But I just wanted to tip my cap to you, man. You a lot more professional than I would have been in these situations. People asking for my job right after I won the division.
Well, I mean, the Irish blood still runs hot. So I can confirm that's still there. No, it really is part of the job, and I think, frankly,
12-5 in the division, is it really part of the job?
I'll just say this. I think both can confirm it's not getting better. So there's only one team that gets to.
You're right.
That's
true.
From that, and I think just having the experience of that, and have the experience of being that one team, you understand that. So, it's part of the job. Yeah. Do I like it? No one's a fan of negative narratives, and what I've learned is, we become so callous to this professionally because it has gotten, we all understand what negative narratives do, and and how it drives content and clicks and all that so forth. And so I get all that, agree or disagree, it's irrelevant. But yeah, the only part I would say is it's tougher on your family. you know, and I never really paid attention. And I think taking a year off and reflecting on things and seeing what the profession, you know, the benefits of the profession are awesome. Don't get me wrong. You can't have both
absolutely.
sides. But, you know, but also you see what it does to your family. It's you know, you like to not have to deal with it. But for me personally, you know, this is a selfish profession. I get to hang out with you guys 6:30 in the morning.
That's right.
I mean, I'm just I already have my workout in,
Stop.
so, you know, through my combination. So, and I get to go to about 10 o'clock at night, and it's all football, you know.
True.
You know, so I'm spoiled. I get to do what I love, you know, 14, 15, 16 hours a day. But, you know, it's so I don't spend a whole lot of time on
Okay.
it. So.
Well, Coach, we thank you for, excuse me, for stopping by. We look forward to all season long. Forthright, honest as always. Always a pleasure, Coach. Thanks for stopping by.
Seeing you guys.
Good to see you in person.
Coach Mike
Appreciate your
McCarthy.
professionalism. Thank you.
Coach Mike McCarthy right here on R&R in the Morning.